In life, we will meet resistance, which can leave us feeling worn down and worn out. But we can find a reason to keep going. Show up, push through, and never give up.
Well, it's Mother's Day, right? So this is a morning where we kind of get to salute the moms of the world. None of us would be here if it wasn't for moms. Like, that's kind of how it works. Like, a mother is required to bring life. And anyway, like, we'll do a series on that later for more details. But y'all are like, let me know when that is so I can not be there for that. No one wants the segs talk, okay? But I know not everybody has happy feelings when I bring up the word mom or whenever I say mother. Like, this is one of those days where everyone's like, thanks, moms, for all you do, for being so awesome and being amazing and for being there for me all the time and for coming to all my little T-ball games and for supporting me in every way because you're just the best. And some of y'all are like, that's not me. That's not my reality. That's not the mom I've got. My two daughters, I have two sons and two daughters. My two little girls, they call my wife mom. But she is not their biological mother. I don't know if you could tell. She's not their biological mother. Both cases are different with my two daughters, but in both cases, drug abuse was involved, and their mothers were ultimately unable to raise them, so we adopted them. We've met both of their biological moms. So this is Maisie on the left and Ivy on the right, who you see here meeting her biological mom at a park in Austin where she lives. And that was the first time they ever met with some dude named Willie. I was like, well, there's that. And then here's Maisie's mom meeting her at Christmas, doing some magnets on a door. And so we wanted to be honest and open with our girls about where they come from and who their biological mother is, as long as it was safe and stuff like that. And so that's kind of the case with them. But just the thought of my two little girls growing up without a home. Just the thought of when they were born and abandoned or their own moms were unable to raise them or whatever the case was, just the thought of them raising up without a family, being raised with no sense of belonging, thinking that no one wanted me, right? It breaks my heart. And it wouldn't have been possible, honestly. Like, if these little kids were born and just abandoned or whatever, if the situation remained the same, it wouldn't have been possible. Like, they just wouldn't have made it. They wouldn't even be here today, literally. And maybe you felt some sense of this aloneness or this loneliness to some degree. But maybe it hasn't been so gnarly, right? Like, maybe it's just been on a lighter scale, like you squatted up with some homies or something like that, and you just got carried for the dub, and you're like, my man. And maybe your team, like in volleyball or whatever sport you might play, y'all went to state, but it wasn't because of you. Like, you weren't the star player on the team. You're like on the team, but you got the ring, you got the jacket, you got the trophy. Maybe it was that class project that you participated in that you could have never done on your own because you are just, let's be honest, you're straight booty at science. Like, you can't do it. Maybe there is this friend group that you went to talk to when your parents were going through a difficult time or maybe even getting a divorce, and these people, you weren't alone, and they helped you make it through that thing. They helped you accomplish the goal. They helped you get there. See, we were not made to be alone. And this is a biblical truth that we've seen all the way from the beginning. We were not made to be alone, yet according to Cigna International, 3 out of every 5 people say that they are lonely. Statistically, when I look around this room, the majority of the people in here would say that I'm lonely. Would say that you're feeling these feelings of loneliness, even though we're surrounded by a group of people. And I think it has a little bit to do with what we talked about in week 1, where in John 16:33, Jesus said this, in this world you will have trouble. And whenever we face trouble, we tend to recluse or separate ourselves from other people. Why is that? Why is there this natural tendency ever since the beginning when there was trouble and the first sin and their inclination was just to hide? We're just to separate from other people, the people that God created to live this life with you and to help you through the difficulty, and we just want to step away from them. Or even God himself, we want to hide from him. We're like, no, I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed, like I don't even want to talk about it, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm upset. And we just want to hide, we just want to do it on my own. I don't want anyone to help me. It was like, whenever you were playing Fortnite, and the squad left you in the storm with like no health, you know? No one else, maybe on your sports team, puts in the work. They don't show up to practices. They don't work out as hard as you do. They're not passing their classes, maybe, and the whole team suffers. Maybe you studied for the group presentation. You're like, I know I'm dookie at science, but I'm going to try at least. But no one else did, and you still failed the presentation. You're like, dang, out of your control. Maybe those friends that you trusted with the news about your parents, they went and told everybody, but it wasn't their business to tell. See, we want to pull away when life gets hard. We tend to pull away and to separate ourselves. We just say, just leave me alone. We tend to hold things back from other people because people, they can't be trusted. I can't trust y'all anymore. Or if I want something done right, I'm just going to do it myself. Maybe you've had a thought like that. Maybe you think life has got to be just all me, I guess. I don't really need anyone else anyway. I'm just going to do me, worry about getting mine, doing my thing, and y'all can worry about y'all. I got this. And I don't know about you, but as much as I would like to believe that would actually work, it just doesn't. It just doesn't. And oftentimes, it makes things harder. It makes things more difficult. See, we know we need resilience because we know hard things are coming. So we know we're going to need the help to get through them. But what if resilience is not something you can build by yourself? Despite how many motivational TikToks you've seen where someone is just like, you got to do it. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the energy and the effort. You got to be the best you that only you can be. It's like maybe it would be better if we were the best we that we could be. Maybe whenever we are weak, someone else is strong. Maybe whenever we're weak, we know God is strong, but maybe God put somebody else in our lives to help us be strong and hold us up too. And it works like that. I want to show you this time in the Bible where a guy named Paul, and we're just going to kind of cruise over it quickly, but this guy named Paul, he was an apostle. I mentioned him earlier. He was one of the most famous and influential Christ followers or Christians. He was in Christ, Christian, of all time. And he was working with a group of his closest friends, Barnabas, Silas, and Mark. Enough to squat up right there. But he got in a little argument with Barnabas because Mark had bailed on them in the middle of one of their trips, and it got dicey. They all ended up going their separate ways. In fact, Paul didn't want anything to do with Mark anymore. He's like, you know what, man? Forget you. He unfollowed Mark and he blocked him on all socials. That's what I like to call a major oof alert right there. That's what that was. But time went by, and Paul was actually thrown in jail for spreading the good news about Jesus. He was out here trying to do his own thing and to do it on his own. He's like, forget y'all, I don't need anybody else. I'm just going to do this on my own, and he was thrown in jail for it. And so he had separated himself, and now he was really, really all alone. And while he was in jail, he wrote a letter to another friend named Timothy. And I have to imagine he had done some soul searching up to this point. He had all those feelings like, I'm going to pull away when life gets hard. I'm going to hold things back from other people. I'm going to think this life has to be all me. He said, I'm going to try to build this resilience on my own. And then he had this epiphany like, I can't do it though. I can't do it alone. And so he writes to Timothy in verse 11 of chapter 4. He's like, Timmy, get Mark. Get the homie Mark and bring him back with you. Because look, he's helpful to me in my ministry. He's helpful. I need him. He's a friend. Paul wanted Mark to come along, the very guy that he refused to work with years before. So you might be asking yourself, like, what changed? What changed? And we don't have time to get into all of the details and everything this morning, but like I said, Paul was literally on mission to share Jesus with the entire world. And he realized that this was it was such an impossible task to accomplish alone. And he cared too much about the mission to let his pride and his self-reliance get in the way. And a lot of us in here are probably struggling with that. Like, we know we need help. We know we can't do it alone, but we have this pride where we don't want to ask for help, or we're too embarrassed, or we're too shy, or we have anxiety about asking for help. Or it's like the person that tried to help us last time ended up actually screwing it up and making it worse. So we don't want to ask them again. So our circumstances look different, but I think there's teeth to this, because I want to encourage you of one thing that I think Paul realized, that I've realized in my life, and I've seen it over and over again. This, I promise you, this is the next step in this series, is being with God, not giving up on God, and then not giving up on others. Not giving up on others. See, God has put people in our lives for a few reasons. It was by no accident that the people in your life are here, right? And some of them are good and some of them are worse. And it's like, this is the stuff that we've got to navigate. But I think for three things, right? Number one, God has put people in our lives to, number one, help us grow, to help us grow. He's also put people in our lives to help us see the good. God has also put people in our lives to provide the support that we need. And I got news for you. None of this is going to happen if you shut them out. None of this is going to happen if you give up on the people that are trying to help you. If you give up on the people that God put in your life to literally support and hold you up when times get difficult. And I don't know, but maybe that person is your mom. Like, today is Mother's Day, and you're like, man, Mom, you were the dumbest person on the face of the planet. You don't understand me at all. Just like, stay out of it, man. You don't even know what you're talking about. You don't know my life, bro. Sounds like I got work to do. It's kind of personal. Whew. No, I love my mom. But there was a time when I felt like that. There was a time. And here we are on Mother's Day. And maybe your mom is that person that you shut out. I don't know. Maybe you need to give her another chance. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, whenever I say don't give up on others, this is one of the last things I want to say this morning. There are some situations where you might need to set some boundaries. There are some situations that might have been harmful, might be harmful to you, might be toxic, and you've got to set up some boundaries, right? I'm not saying like give up on the person completely, because like we said, God never gives up on us, but maybe that looks like you stepping back and you just saying, look, I'm going to be praying for you, but I am going to unfollow you, I am going to dissociate with you, I'm going to do whatever, because it's not healthy, it's toxic, and if it's harmful, look, you got to talk to somebody about that, maybe a trusted adult. So there are situations, but I want to remind us all, and I don't know everyone in this room on a deep personal level, but I do know this, that there are people in your world that love you. There are people in your world that love you, that care about you, and that have your best interest in mind. They're probably closer than you might think. They're probably trying their best. They probably make mistakes, but don't you? I know I do. Wouldn't you like a second chance if you were trying your best and you said the wrong thing or you made a mistake? Are you willing to give the second chance, the third chance to somebody just like you would hope someone would do for you? Because God's put them in your life for one reason or another. They're those ones that you must never give up on. And I want to believe that they're never going to give up on you.